joined as always by my two favorite co-hosts of all time, Matthew Sponhour and Theo Ash. And welcome back to another episode of Stay Hot, presented by our good friends over at Little Caesars Pizza, where Stay Hot, they're staying ready with some hot and ready pizza for you all NFL season long. We have some football to talk about today. Of course, going to start off with the college football playoff rankings, which are somewhat controversial, as they always are. And we can only hope that that controversy will end once the 12-team playoff is enacted.
The last year of controversy.
Surely that's this is the last year of controversy. That's what they're saying. And then, of course, we'll talk about the NFL games, the Thursday night game, and then some of the big games that we took part in watching on Sunday. Sorry, Chargers, Patriots. We will not be discussing that masterclass of a game, I fear. But before we get into that, Matt, Theo, how are you guys doing today?
I think I had a plan on what I was going to say for this, but since the Packers won, I forgot what it was. I can't think about any other good things that have happened to me because that trumps everything else. So I all I can say is that was a great win, but we'll talk about it later. So I'm not going to get too into it.
Matt, I would just like to say you're the only one not wearing Stay Hot merch right now.
My fault.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
You didn't get the memo.
I'm angry. I'm angry for those fellas down in Florida. That sucks. They got hosed so bad. This is the worst mistake that the College Football Playoff Committee has ever made. And probably the only one that's ever actually really mattered.
If they had done this rule throughout the entirety of the playoffs, Ohio State would not have made it in 2014
because of the third string quarterback.
That was a different scenario entirely. Maybe. I don't think it's comparable.
I think
Cardale Jones is a whole lot better than what Florida State's working with, and that Ohio State team was one of the four best teams. So it's kind of like, and their resume was great, but they probably wouldn't have got in if the Big 12 had played a championship game. It's just too different to really put it apples to apples. I don't disagree that Alabama is better than Florida State. Obviously they are. Obviously Florida State probably going to go get crushed by Georgia, and Alabama's got a real good shot against Michigan. And I think I can see it now playing out that way, and people being like, see, I knew it. But like, the point isn't that Florida State is actually secretly better than Alabama. It's that not respecting the actual results of the season is completely ridiculous. You know, I can tell you right now, the Steelers don't need to be in the playoffs. I don't think they're a top 14 team, but if they make it, they make it. That's the way that it works. We wouldn't kick them out. And somebody made the comparison on Twitter. Steelers or Bills, like, who would you take? It's like, dude, whatever team has a better record, whatever team did more in the regular season. It's so frustrating for a couple of reasons. Number one, every time I say something against the 12-team playoff, people tell me, well, every other sport has more playoff spots in college football. But yet people want the selection process to work in a way that no other sport works. I can't think of a single sport that just tries to figure out what team is better and can just throw out what's actually happened if an injury happens. Is that the case in anything else? I can't think of it. And then on top of that, for years and years and years and years, people have been complaining about how, the selection committee is so biased and so evil, and they shouldn't have all that power, as if there's like some magical solution to how we can pick the playoff teams that isn't a committee or a computer or something else that people would complain about. But the first time, or one of the only times, when the committee actually decides to end a team's season unfairly, people love it. It's unbelievable. And it's like, okay, if you like that the committee put in Alabama, I see the argument. I don't. But you cannot complain about there being a committee and them doing whatever they want. And it's on top of all of that, the committee does not pick the four best teams. They never have. They didn't this year. Georgia is obviously a top 4 team. But you know why they didn't put them in? Because of resume. In fact, Florida State didn't even get ranked appropriately based off how good they are now.
Right, because they're ahead of Georgia.
They're not better than Georgia at the moment. Yeah, that's ridiculous. This is, and every single year, I mean, we talk about like, okay, well, what did this team do during the season? But in this one scenario, well, I'm sorry, they're not the best. I mean, you can go look at the college football playoffs criteria right now. Like, you know how they have that list? Almost all of it is just judging how good the team's resume is. It's not judging how good they actually are. If they were concerned about like judging how good the team actually was, they'd have like, oh, what's their offense like? What's the defense? You know, what are like stuff like that. But no, it's like strength of schedule. Well, that doesn't tell you how good a team is, the strength of schedule they played. And then on top of that, you know, Liberty's in a New Year's Six bowl. Oh yeah, Liberty, who has the worst strength of schedule in college football, FBS, 133rd, I believe. That's perfectly fine. I guarantee you they're not a top 12 team. Who knows? Maybe they'll win their game because of bowl sit-outs, or maybe
they should have just put Miami of Ohio.
I like Liberty being there, by the way. I do, but it's just a shame. They should go off results, and it's so annoying because people are like, see, now we need a 12-team playoff, and it's like, don't know. You could just pick the teams right with 4 and be fine.
You could pick the teams right with 2 because there's a clear top 2. There was a consensus, Michigan and Washington, right? So you could just have that. And then it used to be that if you didn't win the championship, you could still have a successful season, which is not really the culture anymore, which I think when there's 32 teams, it's fine. But when there is 133, I think that gets a little bit more dicey. I liked obviously everybody knows this who listens to the podcast. We liked the BCS format more. Steph Curry makes you believe that you can do anything. I mean, look at me. He has me believing that I can shoot threes when I play pickup basketball. And the Curry 11s are specifically designed with ultimate bounce, grip, and stability to allow everyone to do their thing. New generations of ball players are coming up and showing the basketball world that the old rules do not apply. The future is exciting, fast, positive, and hungry. This NBA season, rock your favorite player and rep his shoes on and off the court. The Curry 11s are perfect for both the committed and casual ballers. The UA Warp Tech makes the shoe feel like it was designed for your feet, locked in no matter what you do on the court. Stop in your tracks with dual density UA Flow cushioning and traction, an emergency brake that you don't even notice. Steph's 11th signature shoe steps into the second decade of his sneaker career, pulling colorway inspiration from the wonders of a positive and modernized future on and off the court. Take these kicks with you when you leave the scrimmage and rep UA wherever you go. Do your thing. Change the game. The Curry 11 Future Curry is available now at currybrand.com.
The idea of bowl games mattering is so insane to people now. I mean, if you even bring
the players
it up,
don't care about them, but
crazy. They did. Yeah, they did at one point. Bowl sit-outs were not always a thing.
It's really only been since the playoff was introduced, and it's not like the draft is new, and the idea of like sitting out.
Right. No, the draft's been going on for a while.
I think like to avoid all the sit outs and just have better football played in January or December or whenever those games happened, like you would go back to the old format. But with the new format, it is what it is. This was to me just a dishonorable decision. Like, you know, in Red Dead, you got that
honor. You have to
in Red Dead, you got that meter,
5.
and you know, if you're riding your horse and just shoot a guy like riding next to you, it might feel good. But your honor bar goes down. And I hope that that's what happened to the committee. Like their honor just went way far down. It just wasn't like it was not honorable. It was not an honorable thing to do because
no, it wasn't.
Look, I understand that FSU's quarterback got hurt. There are a lot of other players on the team. Like,
right. This has been a horrifying year for maybe we should care about positions other than quarterbacks narrative for college football. All the Heismans are going to be, all the finalists are going to be quarterbacks. And there was a team that had their quarterback injured and it just ended their season entirely.
Yeah.
They told Florida State to go to hell.
Yeah.
We don't
what
care.
else were they supposed to do? That's what I'm just like so confused. Like, could they have
I'm just
done
so
anything?
sick for those guys. That would, and if that was my team, I would completely lose it.
I'd be pissed. Like legit, I would love to just like ask anyone on the committee: is there anything Florida State could have done?
They could have put up more points versus Louisville
without
like,
Georgia.
If they would have won 40-30, they probably would have been in, instead of 16-6. Like,
but here's my question. They were ranked above Texas going into championship weekend, and now Texas is ranked above them.
They didn't drop when Jordan Travis got hurt.
Yeah, they waited
because it's not about the best. They waited because it's not actually about the best teams. That's one thing, and it never has been. It's not about the best teams. It's about the resume, except occasionally we'll change our mind. Rating. And this was one of those occasions.
They're getting it to the best. The 4 teams with like the best chance to win it, I guess, except for Georgia, are in. But it just isn't an honorable thing to do. It's like FSU, like there's a whole team of people who won every single game they played in. It's like as a Power 5 team, you have to let them in. Like, you have to let them in. They couldn't have done anything more. And if it's a blowout and your ratings are bad, that is like too damn bad. Like, I just feel like the morally correct thing to do. And I guess I know that it's like, I don't care. I want good football. It's like, sure. But I feel horrible for the
no. Respecting the regular season results more important. It is. Yep. It's more important, and than one college football playoff game. And I don't want to hear anything about Louisville didn't beat Louisville by enough, dude. I do not give a shit about about strength of victory, about point differential. Every team plays some team and doesn't beat them by as much as they should. Alabama took a Hail Mary to beat Auburn. If that was FSU, they would have been screwed. What about Washington? Yeah. Washington needed a miracle to beat Arizona State, like a pick 6. It's the way that it goes. Texas has played a ton of one-score games or close games against unranked teams. I can't stand it. I can't stand it.
I hope somebody brought up the point. Florida State dog walks.
Well, it's Georgia. Not going to happen.
It's so funny.
I think that would be the most fun outcome.
Can I give my honest opinion?
Yeah, man.
Dude, Florida State got the harder game also. I know I'm wearing the hat, but I think Florida State may have gotten the harder matchup too, dude.
That's the other thing is like Alabama.
Let them play Liberty, let them give them that.
Michigan playing Alabama. Alabama's the most formidable team in the tournament, probably. Like Saban with a month of prep time. But it's like 1 versus 4. It's like, I don't know, man.
Roll Tide roll.
I think the Tide might roll. I think the Tide might roll. I don't know. The word dishonorable is what I keep coming back to. I just don't think it was.
That's going to be in the thumbnail.
The dishonorable committee. They just did not. They don't respect the game. I feel like at its core, football is about overcoming adversity, and it's about the journey of the season. Every week there's problems. There's more injuries in this sport than any other sport. Like, guys go down. It's next man up. It's all about depth. It's you got. College football's rosters are like 110 players each. You've got that many people for a reason. It's that whole team that brought them there. Mm-hmm. Like, I think that's just kind of the essence of football. Like, that's the culture of football. But the committee's culture is like, well, what will get the most people to tune in? And I feel like it just kind of flies in the face of, what. I think if coaches voted, I think if players voted, they would all understand. It's like Florida, they got it done every single week, and these other teams didn't, so they'll be in. But the committee, isn't.
Well, again, like
that.
Matt said, in no other sports league is there a committee deciding who gets in the playoffs.
I don't have a problem with a committee because there's no other way to do it. I have a problem with the committee not basing things solely off results.
Yeah, the committee being inconsistent.
I mean, how else would you do it? People complain about it, but like, it's that or the computer, man. You pick.
Computer. I take the
don't
computer.
Disagree. Shout out BCS, but
shout out, man.
It's
I will be watching though.
It's
at
a
least
real shame. Oh, I will, but my arms will be folded. And I'm going to be.
All I can say is there better not be any
so.
blowouts. These games better be overtime classics.
I think they're going to be pretty good games. I think they match up to be pretty strong games.
When Bama blows out Michigan, and
they better be.
Actually, that might be a worst case scenario is Bama blows out Michigan, because then I was like, see, they did.
It's so funny. People keep bringing up that TCU game against Georgia, and they're like, well, we don't want this happening. And do people
didn't TCU lose in the national championship game? Not in the playoff?
Yeah, they beat.
Yeah, they lost the national champion. They beat Michigan.
Yeah, so
yeah. It's like first off, I don't know what you're talking about there. Second off, who did you want to get in over them that year? It's just. I'm sorry, the committee's job is not to make sure that every game is perfect. That doesn't work like that in any sport. And I don't know.
Sometimes you get bad games.
I feel like I had something else to say, but I forgot it. Shockingly, I have a problem with the postseason.
It's over for the ACC. They're not a Power 5 conference. They're some second tier one now.
I guess.
It's Power 2 now. It's SEC and Big 10. The Big 12 is going to be horrifyingly bad next year.
Eventually, it's going to just get formatted like NFL. And there's 12 teams in the playoffs, and it's going to be AFC.
They're inching their way towards Big Ten and SEC.
I guess that settles the debate, which is better, college football or NFL, since college football has
NFL.
become the NFL.
The NFL is moving towards bowl games. It's a shame. It's really a shame. This sport is unrecognizable from what it was even 10 years ago.
It sucks. It's like players deserve to get paid, and you could have done NIL and then kept the collegiate format. I personally liked having the different formats in the different sports instead of it. Yeah,
it's cool, man. Transfer and NIL has been pretty good, man. That stuff is exciting, but I don't know.
Could have done all that and still had the BCS.
I could talk about this for hours on end.
You need to write your manifesto, Matt.
All of my comments would be like, you're just trying to be different. Bro, how do you not like more games? More games is good. Or people just hate everything new. That's all the comments I ever
You need
get.
the return to BCS, like the Unabomber Ted Kaczynski's return to.
I've thought about posting stuff like that. I'm not gonna lie though.
This is the only take.
You could write 100,000 words. You could write a hell of a manifesto. I think it would be so funny. The BCS manifesto. It could be a classic document.
It drives me crazy. It's just something about this, man. It just drives me nuts. It's because all my comments, I get a bunch of comments on the video, and it's like, man, I could respond to I have a response to this dude. But it's just such a mindset difference. And I wish we could have the NFL be the NFL and college football be college football. You can't tell me the BCS wasn't a great product. That I'll never believe.
I agree.
It was.
Or somebody will be like,
I also agree.
I'm sorry, I'm going on too long. We're 20 minutes in. Let's talk about some NFL.
We could talk about this it'll be a 3-hour episode.
We could talk about this for as long as we wanted to, I promise.
Anyway, the college football playoffs are set. So what could be a better holiday gift than getting someone tickets to see their favorite college football team play for the national title or a chance at the national title, or maybe just in a New Year's Six bowl game or in any bowl game? It really couldn't get much better than that. And it really couldn't get much easier with Game Time. Because with Game Time, you can get the best prices on last-minute tickets for really any event. It doesn't necessarily have to be football or college football or any sport. It could be music. It could be comedy. It could be anything. I'm on the Game Time app right now. They've got Doja Cat. They've got all types of local bands even. Not some that I haven't even heard of, but maybe I'll go see them because I can get cheap tickets at any time, last minute deals. So make sure you head on over to gametime.co or use the Game Time app and use the code BlaidenK to get, you're already getting the best deal. And now you can use this code and get $20 off. It really doesn't get any better or easier. You can even see pictures of where your seat's going to be. Game Time really does have it all. They make it so easy and they give you the best prices. And if you use the code BlaidenK, you can get $20 off your purchase. So head on over to gametime.co or use the Game Time app today. If we want to get into the NFL, I think we wanted to start with the Thursday night game between the Cowboys and the Seahawks. I said it could have been 18-14. It was more like 80-40.
18-14. Didn't we? I guess I also said that it was going to be a little lower scoring, perhaps, but not the case.
Yeah, but I said it first. I'll take the blame for it. It's okay.
Well, we were right that the Cowboys were going to win.
Yes.
Both defenses were pretty atrocious in this one. That's the story. Starting with the Seahawks defense, they played all zone like the entire game. I think they played maybe a half dozen reps of man and got torched on probably 4 out of those 6. But they got torched on all the zone coverage stuff too. And I think when I look at the Seahawks defense and why it's disappointing, first of all, the pass rush was non-existent versus Prescott.
Yeah. Well, especially once I'm blanking on name now.
Brooks went down.
Down. He got hurt. Brooks, yeah. When Brooks, because he's probably like outside of Boye Mafe, he's probably their best passer.
Leonard Williams is their best.
You know. I keep forgetting that they got Leonard Williams. He is nice. But yeah, when they lost Brooks, that really hurts them, because what Brooks can do and is you can line him up in different, you can have him as your coverage guy. He's like their best coverage linebacker, and he can rush the passer. When you lose him, it's like you lose so much of your defense in one smooth sweep. It's like it's like one of the things I really want them to get this offseason is like a really high level pass rusher, so that they can just leave Jordan Brooks in coverage all the time and stop having him rush the passer.
Yeah, I don't think they need to get one in the offseason, because Boye Mafe has broken out and they got Leonard Williams. Like they got to bring him. They got to bring it. They have to bring him back.
They're going to get
and they're going to get Nwosu back. And Jaron Reed actually played,
yes,
I thought, a very, very good game. So they've got nose tackle, 3 tech, I think both edges figured out, but one of those guys is missing. And just in this game, like it just wasn't the best game from any of them. I think those are all good players, but Mafe didn't do too much. Darrell Taylor had an opportunity at a big sack, but let Dak slip through his fingers. It was a lot of 5 people out in the route and then 5-man protections. And like, if you're just not getting pressure in those situations, it's a lot of stress on your coverage. And then it's tough for your coverage to be good with a guy like Bobby Wagner. Like, I don't want to agenda push too much, but it's like, it's true. It's as a hook defender, he was terrible.
He has a role at this point in his career, and that's not it. I don't think there's any debate about that. And he does things well. He's still,
as long as it's in the A gaps or B gaps, it's like he can do it. But if it's, moving backwards, it was just a atrocious day from him in coverage. And then Woolen and Witherspoon didn't play too great either, although the refs kind of had some really questionable DPI calls throughout that game for them. But
yeah, I thought I keep looking back at the early DPI against Woolen, and everyone's like, terrible play by. I don't know if that was pass interference. I'm trying to figure out, what did he do?
That one I remember on the All-22. It looked like he was a little handsy on that one, and he didn't need to be, because he's Woolen. He was going up against Tolbert. He jumped too early. It just didn't look like he played the ball very well. It wasn't a banner performance from him. All the outside corners, like 22 had a big holding on the double move from Lamb. Witherspoon was targeted a lot and gave up a lot of catches. Like, Wagner is just like anything in his vicinity is going to be open. Like, you just don't have to worry about him making a play at all. And it was. Yeah,
Adams got mossed by Jake Ferguson.
Adams did get mossed by Jake Ferguson at the end.
Jake Ferguson, nice, man.
Kind of nice with it.
Yeah, he wasn't bad. But I think the main thing was the pass rush, honestly, and how much time Dak had. And then it was just spamming CeeDee Lamb. Like, Ferguson was their second leading guy. Like Tolbert and Cooks and Turpin and Gallup, especially Gallup, like, they weren't huge factors in this game. They really force-fed CeeDee, and then Ferguson was kind of that second option, but no one could really hang with CeeDee. And then on the Cowboys side of the ball,
they did the opposite. They ran only man coverage, and they got cooked on it.
I'm just not convinced. I've said it from the beginning of the year, like that their defense is fake. Like since at least Diggs went down, they can't deal with motion. Their linebackers or safeties or hybrids or whoever's in the box at that second level, like they just don't read that stuff well, and they're late to react to it all the time. And then they play a lot of like the single high man coverage, but Gilmore and Bland, like they're just
it's
gross.
It's funny that Bland is so much like Diggs.
It's the same
in
shit.
the sense that, like, he's not like it's the exact same shit.
Who is their corners
Al
coach?
Harris,
This is my
Packers
question.
legend.
Hey.
But yeah,
I mean, yeah, DK had just a total monster game. Bland is just, I mean, there was a point in that game where I think, and this is like in the second half, where I think Bland had been responsible for more yards than the Cowboys had passed for, because he had given up like 140 and he had 2 big penalties, and the Cowboys were sitting at like 170 or 160 or something, or it was like really close to that being true.
Yeah,
it was just a ridiculous
nasty
performance
work.
from him, and I don't know what more you can say about that.
yeah, it was bad. But he did get the pick that set the Cowboys up on their half of the field.
Yeah.
And overall, like you do have to give them that. I don't know. I think that the Cowboys, they're very good, but I just don't know about that secondary. I love their line. I love CD. I love Dak. I think all of them are performing at a very high level. I do worry a little bit about getting outgunned by a team that has AJ Brown and Devontae Smith, or a team that has Kittle and all those guys. When like Lamb is amazing, but it kind of is like Ferguson is nice, no doubt about it, and Cooks is nice, but
Well, I was hyping up Ferguson because he got me 22 in fantasy.
well, he played it. He played a nice game.
He's a very solid
played a
tight
nice
end.
game.
But yeah, I agree. It's like
That second big threat on offense does so much for you.
the second big threat is not there, right? It's if you can take away CD, which
No.
isn't easy to do. You know, most offensive, you can take away their best player, they're going to play way worse. But yeah, it does feel like we put them that tier below the 49ers and the Eagles. There's a reason for it.
I think it's
right?
mostly the defense, but there is just kind of that second thing where it's like they don't have the second star that the Eagles and the 49ers do.
Well, yeah.
And the defense.
And it's
the primary
like,
concern
you
is the
can
defense.
have. I mean, I mean they have big games on offense for sure. We see if Dak and CD get rolling,
the
if
offense
they
is
can get Ferguson
super
involved,
legit,
and they can get
yeah.
a good game out of Cooks. It's nice sometimes, but yeah, if you can clamp up CD Lamb, it can get really tough.
They just rely so much, like they rely so
defenses.
much on CD. He just, which is fine because he's good. But I target I went
really
through this
good.
game and I was charting it, and when I do targets, I don't even do throws that are just to the receiver. I also do ones where they look at him and then move off, because they did get targeted, but then the coverage was good, so they moved off. And CD, like if I counted it like that, which I did, he got 35 targets. Like they look at him all the time. You know, it's
on how many dropbacks? How
total
many
dropbacks. What did I put? My numbers might be wrong because I'm doing it by hand and I'm not a computer, but every
That's
charting's
fine.
numbers might be wrong.
Yeah.
41 attempts, 7 rushes for Dak, so probably right around 40.
Yeah, I had
50.
59 dropbacks, but I also sometimes count penalty plays
And
because
well over
they
half of
happened and
them.
something wouldn't happen. So 59 dropbacks,
Easily over half of his dropbacks.
35 to CD,
were like trying to get the
16
ball
to Ferguson, and then it was like 10 to Cooks, including just glances at him. So like it's a really CD, like really, really CD heavy. And maybe Cooks has more, and like if he needed to step up, like he would, but
Cooks
he has had some decent, but he's also had a lot of
down
quiet
the
ones. So it's like I don't really, I guess, know quite what to make with it. But they're definitely more CD heavy than other top offenses are, like with the usual, like with their top threat. Like the CD is everything.
Make Little Caesars the official pizza sponsor of the NFL part of your game day. Order online during our Pizza pregame 1 hour before and 3 hours after NFL kickoffs, plus all day Sunday. And get ready for some football and some fun. Choose your favorite Little Caesars pizza or pick the toppings you crave. Either way, you win. And speaking of winning, everyone scores with convenient delivery or our in-store pizza portal pickup. So grab some friends and enjoy a few slices during the game. If we want to move on to the Sunday performances, I think we want to start off with Texans Broncos in the early window. This was kind of the big AFC playoff implication game that we were looking at as far as wild card goes. Broncos coming off a 5-game win streak. Defense leading the league in turnovers. Houston has one of the most efficient quarterback and offenses in the NFL, and Houston is able to prevail. One thing I feel like, and I felt like this kind of coming into it and watching, I'm like, the Denver Broncos definitely rely too much on the turnovers. And even coming out of like the Miami game, and they made the improvements, and the defense got better. Even since they've started their win streak, their 5-game win streak, they were bottom 10 in defensive success rate, despite being top 10 in defensive EPA, because all they get are those big plays. But down-to-down consistency just does not exist for them. And it's a very similar story on offense, except they don't create nearly as many big plays, so they're kind of bottom 10 in both, except for the occasional Cortland Sutton big play that they
they're more of a grinded out type of team, with Miners and McGlinchey, being the engines of a rushing attack. They're very good at getting the tough yards. There was a key 4th down at the end of this game where Javonte fought through a couple hits and got it, and the drive kept going with a chance to win the game. Like that to me is the encapsulation of what the Broncos are. It's like that kind of physical team that does that can just wrestle you to the ground. But my concern with them is if they go down, do they have the horses in their passing offense to throw their way back into it? And I think they can kind of blame the refs for why they went down. There was a big play that Stingley probably interfered on, that they didn't get. Sutton dropped a big one early. There was a penalty that kind of bailed the Texans out. Singleton kind of shoved Stroud. But I didn't quite think that was a 15-yard worthy shove. It was a little one. And those were some of the reasons that they were down 2 possessions. And then when they tried to throw their way back, they threw 3 picks. And it wasn't Russ's fault, right. I don't think. One wasn't 2 of them were just amazing plays by Derek Stingley, just unreal. And then one of them was a tip from Will Anderson.
Amazing play by Will Anderson.
And then what was the other one? Stingley had 2. Who picked it? Oh, and then one was the last play of the game when Grenard beat Bowles, and then he just kind of threw it up on 3rd down into the end zone. And that one probably wasn't a good enough look for him to throw it, and they should have probably taken it to 4th down. But still, kind of desperate times call for desperate measures. So none of them were egregious picks, but it's just the passing offense as a whole. Is the receiving core good enough? Is Sutton has been really good, Sutton, but sometimes it is just Sutton. The tight ends weren't really a factor today. He missed Judy wide open on a double crossing route. I don't know why he wasn't able to go through his progressions and see him. So a little bit was on him. McGlinchey is a run blocking tackle, and when he was dropping back, Anderson just torched him, absolutely killed him. So it's just a better team. It's a team that is better playing a close game or playing from ahead. Throwing their way back into it isn't quite their identity, and I think that's kind of what killed them today. All the picks.
I always think that's funny. I don't disagree. Some teams are obviously better at playing from behind, but to say a team is better off when the game is closer, they are winning, versus when they are down a lot of points.
Yeah.
It's always a good one.
I just don't value their passing game. Like if you can go down if you're the Eagles and you have Hurts and AJ Brown, or if you're Mahomes or something like the Cowboys, but it's like the Broncos just aren't built like that. And Russ had some nuts plays, like some really great deep shots, and like they were somewhat explosive in this game, but the consistency and the turnovers like wasn't there. I don't think Stroud played his greatest game. Like he was actually a little inaccurate, but obviously
he missed
a few
ones
he should have had. But overall, like played pretty well. Protected the football.
Yeah.
And Texans get the huge.
That's all you have to do, really. That's all you want to do against Denver is if you can win the turnover battle against Denver.
Both of these offenses are actually pretty similar. Like the Texans, Stroud is obviously great, but they're not really pass heavy. They're actually one of the more run heavy teams in the league, and there's a lot of under center runs in this offense, and like that's kind of what the Broncos are like. And then when they do pass, they've got a really aggressive quarterback who's been a big playmaker this year, and I think Stroud is actually someone who is going through his progressions and has hit more big plays than Russ. Russ is kind of like one and then check down. So that's why I tweeted that the Texans offense is what the Broncos offense would look like if Russ was good. But then I figured that was a little harsh on Russ, so I deleted it. But both of these quarterbacks were super aggressive. Stroud's average depth of target was 11.1. Russell Wilson's average depth of target was 13.1. So they were really bombing it down the field off the under center, like play action stuff. And that was like the Texans are just they've got the deeper receiving core. They've got the better quarterback. They've got the better pass protecting offensive line. They're just, I think, built a little better than the Broncos, but they're not totally dissimilar teams. I'm glad the Texans won.
Tank Dell injury is tragic.
It was tragic, especially how it happened. He got annihilated. Like he got hit in the face, like speared and then bent backwards. It was gross to see a little dude like that.
It's a couple times now that he's gotten really crushed.
Yeah, he got hit in the back a couple weeks ago that I thought he wasn't going to get up from, and then he popped right up and ran off. Like I thought he was going to get paralyzed on that hit a few weeks ago.
Yeah. But Texans got it done.
Yeah, I think the positive outlook for the Broncos still is that, you were a team without an identity last year, and now you're one that has one, and it's not a fundamental problem other than there's just a talent gap, and you got to start to close it.
I agree. Especially on defense, once when Surtain was out early in the game, like then they allow a 200-yard Nico Collins performance, like secondary still probably could use a little work. McMillan has been a nice find. Obviously Simmons and Surtain are nice, but like that second outside corner spot could use a big address this offseason.
Maybe. If you're the Texans, man, if you're just a Texans fan, how good must it feel that like all of your young players?
Stingley's pick was really nuts today. There was invert cover 2, and like that means there's a big space in the middle of the field, and 14 Sutton was like exploiting that space. After the game, Russell Wilson said, "I have no idea how Stingley made that play. Like it was a."
No, like how does anyone know how he made that play?
He just made an amazing catch. He's fast and he read it well. Like,
yeah,
it's kind of a breakout game. He hasn't been super consistent this year, but the high end plays, like some of the picks he's had recently, just nuts.
He's looking better than he was last year,
and even early this year,
which is positive. And then Will Anderson, everyone was worried. Was it worth trading up for him? I think the answer might be yes.
Worth trading up for a player if they're good enough. Nobody will talk about what your team gave up all the time if they're good enough. So it's if it works and your team wins games, and usually the decisions are correct.
Yeah, he was a monster.
Is that a stray at Carolina, Matt?
Might be. But yeah, he's a total beast. He's a complete package. you know, he maybe got knocked a little bit for not being like the super duper crazy number one overall athlete type deal, but the rest of it's totally there, full package, and he's just been nothing short of elite this year.
Mr. Fundamental. He's like the Tim Duncan. He's just nothing. There's nothing about him where I'm like, oh my God, he's just so great at like bending, or he's like, oh, his moves. He has so many wicked moves, or like he's just the greatest speed to power. He's just complete. Like all of it is there at like an 85 overall level right now. And he's really good. He's making the case for defensive rookie of the year. Jalen Carter maybe can feel it slipping a little bit. It's certainly not over. This episode of Stay Hot is brought to you by Prize Picks. With the basketball season here, you can now pick combo projections across football and basketball from the Specials League, a league created specifically for combo projections that includes 2 or more players from different sports or leagues. For example, LaMelo Ball plus Jonathan Mingo at a 10.5 combo of 3-pointers made plus reception, something like that. Prize Picks even offers a reboot policy so that your entries stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. For football and basketball games, if you have a player who exits the game in the first half and does not return in the second, that player is rebooted. And Prize Picks is the only daily fantasy sports platform with this injury insurance policy. So go to prizepicks.com/stayhot and use code STAYHOT for a first deposit match up to $100. That means if you put in 50, they'll give you another 50. You'll have 100 in your account. You could put up 99 and they'll give you another 99. It's just up to 100. So it's a great deal. Go to prizepicks.com/stayhot. Use code STAYHOT for that first deposit match. Prize Picks, daily fantasy sports made easy.
Titans almost got the
hilarious
win.
game.
And I think for all intensive purposes, just completely unhinged. For like all intensive purposes, the Titans probably outplayed the Colts, except the Colts had 2 blocked punts, one of which they returned for a touchdown. And then in overtime, Gardner Minshew completes like a 70-yard bomb to Alec Pierce to put them in position to win the game. Like, what are we?
Well, first off, special teams is part of the game. If you block,
I know, but like,
second off, Alec Pierce bomb touchdown. I don't see what's surprising about that.
Well, that wasn't the touchdown. He didn't. He deserved the touchdown.
He deserved the touchdown.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to go back and watch this one properly. I had it on the second screen for the second half, and it has to be one of the more underrated games of the year because I was primarily watching Houston versus Denver, but every time I looked up, something crazy was going on in Colts Texans. The Colts had a 19-play drive, I believe, is what it was in this game. 19 plays.
Yes. Yeah, I know. So on the punt, the blocked punt returned for a touchdown. The Colts also picked off the 2-point conversion and returned it.
Yeah, that happened after there was the 19-play drive. And then the Texans get the ball. I believe they have to punt. It gets blocked for a touchdown. Then they try to throw like a screen or one of those Andy Reid like bowling plays down at the goal line, which goes over everybody's head and gets picked off for the pick 2. Then the Titans get the ball back, and then their punt gets blocked again, and Stonehouse's leg gets fucked up. Like it bends the wrong way. He has to get carted off, and then Tannehill has to hold the punts. They miss an extra point because of it, or it has to hold the field goals.
Yeah.
Just a wild one. I think the main story of this one was Michael Pittman, who Gardner Minshew was basically spamming over the course of this game. He had one of the great catches of the year. He totally mossed a linebacker, like a really violent, like ripped it off his helmet play, but it was only for like 6 or 7 yards. He had a couple ridiculous catches though, and obviously really good play design. I think it was Pierce kind of settling down, and then Pittman wrapping around on the dig. Like both guys don't pay attention to Pittman running inside. Like really good play design on that, and Pittman in general just kind of dominating the Titans wide receivers. This was a really devastating one to lose for Tennessee. You know, you thought maybe they'd have a chance to kind of claw their way back into not even in the hunt, but just like in the conversation for like a good season. And then this was one where after everyone seemed pretty shell shocked that they lost, like guys crying and stuff like that. So shout out the Colts. They're in the playoffs right now. Steichen.
I was about to say Steichen got to be front runner for coach of the year, right?
Front runner?
You don't think so?
If I Googled the odds right now, I guarantee you that he's not the front runner. Maybe you can argue that he should be, but
I think you might have to.
Yeah, he's got a good case, but I don't think that he would be the front runner.
I'm looking up who the front runner.
I mean, I'd say the Colts without Anthony Richardson as a team. That was
I found myself Googling, could Anthony Richardson return for the playoffs, and didn't really get a good answer.
That would be
that would be hilarious.
He ain't Rodgers.
Well, Rodgers is not coming back for the playoffs, so if he's not Rodgers, that means he will. Playoff Richardson. Nice. They need to make it deep. I want to see it.
Thinking of a world where Richardson comes in next year and like they don't have the they might not repeat the number of wins they get this year, and it's like, dude, Minshew, honestly, dude, they won more with Minshew.
Man, I really wanted the Colts to lose this. I was hoping for like overtime interception by Minshew just so that I could be like, man, if only they had Richardson.
Would have been a banger tweet.
I hate them. I hate the Minshew narrative.
Minshew.
Man. I hate Minshew.
I don't think anybody is pushing like Minshew narratives at all, man.
I haven't seen anybody talk about the Colts all year.
It happened with people wanted Minshew over Jalen Hurts, and then
but not anymore. I think that's
not anymore. But like. You're not
You're
telling
right.
me that next year
you are right.
Like,
everywhere Minshew has been, people have hyped him up, and it's always been over someone who ended up being like great. Like there was a very real after Trevor Lawrence's rookie season. Like Minshew had better stats. They made a mistake moving on from Minshew. It did happen when he was on the Eagles, and it will happen again with Richardson. But the thing is, it doesn't matter at all because obviously they're not. They would never start Minshew over.
It's just annoying. It's just so.
I agree. It has happened enough where it's like Minshew, good backup, very good. You can win games with
good backup.
Minshew, but
good backup.
Yeah, I think Steichen. I don't want to hate on Steichen when I say that he's not the front runner. I'm just saying like there's just no way that he is the odds-on front runner.
It's. Dan Campbell is the favorite right now. And I guess, it's Dan Campbell, then D'Amico Ryans, then Mike McDaniel, then Kevin O'Connell, Nick Sirianni, Sean Payton, and then Shane
Is Shanahan not on that
he should
list
be
at all?
Than that.
Shanahan, maybe this is old, but this was updated the 29th of November. Shanahan is... Yeah, under Harbaugh, under Doug Peterson, under Mike Tomlin,
Doug Peterson,
who are all under all.
Doug Peterson isn't even calling
all
plays.
Under all those other guys that I. Yeah, but it's coach of the year. It's not play caller of the year.
Peterson doing besides handing play calling off to someone who every Jaguars fan hates? Like Shanahan's below him.
Let me check. Let me check on.
It does. I don't care. I actually don't care at all. Let's move on.
Yeah. He said, "Let's."
I don't care who wins.
All right. Next game. I don't really want to talk about Rams Browns that much.
Neither do I.
The Browns, they're on QB. Moving on to a game worth talking about. The Eagles played the 49ers. Supposed to be game of the week. Ended up in a 49ers blowout.
Which was predicted by us here on the show, at least a 49ers win was. And I think our general consensus was the 49ers were the more well-rounded team, and they were.
That showed.
I'm stunned the Eagles couldn't run the ball.
I am too. I mean,
it was bad, man. To be completely honest with you. No disrespect.
we all know that I'm not a fan of their lead back, but they didn't have a single successful running play outside of the sneaks. Not one.
2.6 yards per attempt.
And they didn't even try to
Disgusting.
run the ball is the other thing. And I guess it's tough because on the first two plays or the first two drives, passing the ball was so effective. So I get going back to it. But when you look at it towards the end, if they only had, I think, like 10 real rushing attempts or something like that, that's crazy. You're the Eagles. You have the best offensive line in the league. And there's just no balance. I don't understand. I thought it was bad play calling. I think that a passing offense is the most important thing, but balance is number 2 for an offense. Like, there needs to be more than just that. There needs to be a good mix of, I think, everything.
Yeah.
And I under center shotgun, like
100%.
different run things, like different passings, the more the defense has to worry about, like the better you're going to be. And with the Eagles, there's just not that much you have to worry about with them. Like, they are going to run their man beaters with AJ Brown and Devontae Smith. And, you know, when it's man, they will beat you. But in terms of like the quick game, there isn't too much. Hurts scrambled probably every single drop back. It was nuts. It didn't matter how much time he had, like, he was running around. And I wish there were just more like stand on a pitcher's mound, like get the ball and get the ball out. Like, maybe Hurts is just incapable of doing it. But it's like, I'd like to see more of it in the offense. It was a gross game to watch. Like, Devontae Smith played super well. I thought AJ Brown played super well, but just force feeding those guys all game. Like, you need to be more balanced than that. You just do. And meanwhile, the 49ers on the other side, they realized they could just run, and that's what they did.
Yeah, I mean, they realized how many players you can attack on the Eagles defense.
Yeah.
I mean, the linebackers, I'm thinking particularly of the touchdown throw to McCaffrey. I mean, Morrow, I don't even understand how he got quite that lost, where McCaffrey turns upfield and he just doesn't go with
Did
him.
he score on that play? I know the one you're
line,
talking about.
McCaffrey. Maybe he was down at the. He did.
I thought he did
because he fell into the end zone, but since he fell,
I honestly, I saw him. I saw Morrow take the worst angle ever in man coverage, and then I think I blacked out because it was so bad. I don't remember what. I just remember watching Morrow on McCaffrey, and then like Morrow, I don't know where he was going. That one was awful. Ricks got targeted, was in the game a few times, and I think got targeted every single time that he was in. And then Jawan Johnson dribbled him like a basketball at one point. That wasn't good. Slay has not been elite this year. He allowed a couple catches. The other linebacker, 53. Who even is 53?
Is that
Christian Ellis?
Is that
He was
so
not good.
Eagles are out here dismantling the theory that like running backs and linebackers don't
It's
matter.
a stupid idea, especially with the linebackers. I think if you have a week, ask the Seahawks or ask the Eagles now. Like, the Seahawks had a bad linebacker in coverage, and they got totally exposed through just that. It's just someone standing in a different part of the field than a boundary corner, and you can still target that area of the field as much as you can target any other area of the field. Like, these guys need to be good in coverage. Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw, when he was in, Hurts didn't even try to target them. Like, that's pretty valuable. Yeah. There's just nothing in the middle of the field.
Yeah, the 49ers can basically, they can just wipe away the middle of the field. It's so broken.
Yeah, it's a huge deal. And I think when you start counting up the real positive forces on the Eagles defense, you only got to use one hand. You know, it's just one too many things to attack on that defense.
Yeah, I think Blankenship number 32 is decent, but even he gave up a touchdown today. Slay and Bradbury, I think, are still positive forces, but just not quite as good as they were last year. And then the line is good, but they were in bear a lot today. Like they were trying to get one-on-ones with the 49ers offensive line. And when they were in those bear fronts, the 49ers cooked them all the same. And like I was talking about earlier, there was a point in the second half where Shanahan realized, like, I don't even need to target these linebackers in coverage and drop back at all. I can just go under center and run it behind Trent Williams and use check and Kittle. And it's
only time Shanahan has ever like.
What are you talking about?
In Lake,
Shanahan commits to the run all the time. Shanahan loves to run he likes to run it more than he likes to.
I know. It's the big narrative that like Shanahan gets away from the run in big games.
He did in the Super Bowl. I will give you that in the Atlanta game. He should have run it a little bit more. But I watched him beat my team, and they passed it like 9 times total. If it starts working, he literally will call it every play. Like it's like I think it's almost kind of his signature move, and it's something he started doing today. And yeah, the Eagles couldn't stop it. I think their backs are super overrated, and they don't really trust them. Their play calling to me is unbalanced, and trying to spam their Madden broken plays. I don't know. They're still the second best team in the NFC, but I don't really know who competes with the 49ers, honestly, across the whole league. So they're still probably the second best team in the league overall. But
one of my neighbors is outside, like blowing leaves. It's 1 a.m, dog. What do you?
I can't hear it on the record, so you're all good there. But that is strange behavior.
Okay.
I'll ask you guys the same question. I'm just musing. Like, who is the second best team in the league if we agree that the 49ers are the first?
I was thinking about this today. Maybe the Ravens.
Yeah, probably.
I'd probably say Baltimore or probably Miami at this point, too, even though they haven't beat anybody good.
We are getting really close to the possibility of a Niners-Dolphins Super Bowl. Purdy and Tua.
I fear. I mean, it would be a good game. I mean, both of those offenses are sick. I'd like to see the Tua go in against a good defense and like have a good game, because it hasn't really happened, I feel like, in like 2 years. But that doesn't mean it can't happen. And their defense is pretty good as well. And they can.
Well, in order for them to get to the Super Bowl, they'll probably have to get through a couple of good defenses. Also, Theo, your mic cut out. So
my headphones just is the problem.
Oh, his headphones died, but his mic is still here. So that's positive. He'll be putting in new headphones, and we will continue on shortly. But here's a message from our sponsor.
Yeah, we're good.
Anyway, all right. Sounds good. Yeah, Niners probably best team in the NFL right now. Then probably Baltimore, Miami, and Philly are there. I think still Philly is
but just the gap between the 49ers and the next best team, because if you go with the Dolphins or Baltimore, whoever you want to say, like Baltimore's line isn't great. Like Stanley has fallen off after all these injuries. No one else on the line is like a superstar like Trent Williams is or anything like that. It's a good line, but it's not. I think some of its flaws were honestly exposed versus the Chargers. Like the Chargers were able to get a ton of pressure on them. And then in that game with Mark Andrews out, their leading targets were Isaiah Likely and Zay Flowers. And I like Isaiah Likely and Zay Flowers, but that's not like when you think about what the 49ers have, like it's not even close.
Right. They've made improvements to their weapons, but they're still so far from being like a really great offensive superpower. They do have less ways that they can be exposed defensively, though. I think
I don't even know about that. Like their defense is really good.
Than Philly?
Yes. Then Philly, yes. I was thinking about the 49ers. I was thinking about the 49ers.
Oh, no, they're better. I mean, the 49ers are obviously, better defensively, but I'm saying, like, as far as ways the Niners could exploit defense,
Baltimore has a way better
think Baltimore
defense
would
than Philly,
fare better. So, I don't know. I'd probably go Baltimore as the second team.
Yeah, I'd probably go, if I'm power ranking the top 5, I would go 49ers 1, Baltimore 2, Philly 3.
It's tough. But...
Dolphins 4, Chiefs 5. Maybe Chiefs 4, Dolphins 5. The Chiefs did beat the Dolphins.
The Chiefs lost. I might put Jacksonville in that top 5. We'll see how they play tomorrow. We will see how they play tomorrow against Cincinnati. But dog. I mean, they're 8-3, potential to be 9-3.
They suck at running the ball though, and I feel like their line is so bad, and I'm just not super moved by their offense. I think they're kind of like a discount Bengals where they've got the quarterback and the wide receivers, but not really the line. And then they've got a good defense. But you think Kansas City's better than them? I'd probably bet on Kansas City over Jacksonville. Yeah.
I guess Kansas City does have the defense
and a better offensive line.
Yes.
Yeah. A better run game, a better quarterback.
Yeah, I'd take Kansas City over Jacksonville.
I don't know. That's Jacksonville started off the year kind of.
They've been good these last 2 weeks. They're not bad. I just wouldn't put
good,
them over the Chiefs in a power ranking.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess you need to see them really get hot.
There's Dallas too, which you could put in the top 5, but.
Yeah, but Dallas got dog walked by San Francisco too.
They did, and I really am concerned about their defense. I
worse.
really don't know how it can hold against good teams.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
I think Miami has a better defense than them. Kansas City still probably does. Ravens, 49ers, and then Eagles, you're probably pretty evenly matched, but I like the Eagles offense a little bit more than the Cowboys offense because they've got AJ Brown and Devontae Smith basically. And their line is great.
They've got.
Well, since we're talking about the Chiefs, do you guys want to hit the Sunday night game?
More than anything.
I believe
the Little Caesars game of the week. I'm wearing my Little Caesars shirt right now.
I got my Little Caesars clock.
Deuces.
So I can't show it.
Oh,
I do have it though. Somewhere up there.
Matt, is yours is in your living room, right?
Mine's in my living room. I mean, we just want people to see it right when they walk in.
Right.
So.
What did you guys think about Jordan Love tonight? I want to hear it from someone else.
I thought he was pretty good.
Stunk, man.
He seems like a type of guy who can do very good in the situation that he's in, and I think they can do a lot to get more playmakers around him. But I didn't feel like he was out there creating a bunch, and I think that was more my big question about him. It's a positive game because we're still not really at the point where it's guaranteed that Love is going to be a long-term NFL starter. In fact, I think if you ask the average person, most people would say it's a coin flip right now. But I thought for the most part, he played pretty good. He put stuff on the money. He can get the ball wherever it needs to be. It's just when he's under pressure, I don't think he's that great of an athlete. And he's not. He just didn't move me as far as when things broke down. But outside of that, it was a very strong game.
I agree that today wasn't his big out of structure day, but I disagree with the great athlete part of it. I think that Love is not as good as anyone, but I do think that he's above average in terms of arm talent for NFL.
In terms of arm talent, I'll give you. I mean more in
escapability.
That's my fault.
Yeah, I still think that he's pretty good in that area and combined.
I don't know. I thought there were a lot of plays, and maybe this is me overjudging it and whatnot, and you tell me if I'm wrong. I don't think he's the fastest. I think he rolls back out of the pocket really deep.
I agree with that.
It's hard to make something from there, and then he sort of just ends up throwing
his
it away
sense
a lot.
For creating under pressure. He has certainly not lit the league on fire with the magician stuff Lamar or Mahomes or like a lot of the top quarterbacks who like instantly came in and was just like, no one can stop this guy. He's definitely not that, but he's got that in him. He's got a huge arm, and I thought he was great from the pocket tonight. And I think early in the season he was pretty jittery in there, which was disappointing from him because I thought that in the Eagles game, like he showed that he could be kind of elite from the pocket. But this last month, he's been pretty great from inside the pocket and going through his reads, and he's been super. He's been accurate. Watson actually making catches is huge for the offense.
Dude, he's taken a huge step up too. Absolutely, that one he had in the end zone today. It's so funny. I feel so used to expecting Watson, and just like it's just not the type of player that he is. But not even just this week. I feel like in previous weeks as well. It's like he's a totally different receiver, and it's absolutely huge for them.
All it took was one episode of us talking shit on him, and
all of Packers Twitter. I mean, it was fair. Like at the time, like at the beginning of the season, targets to him were atrocious. Like his passer rating when targeted before I would say the Lions game was probably 0. And these last 2 weeks, he's looked completely dominant, and that just the end arounds were hitting to him tonight. Like everything was going well for Christian Watson. And when he's playing with that type of, like as the type of athlete he is, when he's getting the details down and catching with his hands, like it unlocks so much for the offense. And they would have been competing for the division if he was playing like this the whole year. They'd probably be winning the division if he was playing like this the whole year. And that's exciting, although he did pull up his hamstring tonight, so hopefully he's okay there. And then I think like LaFleur's play calling was really good. I talked about balance earlier. He was super balanced. Like that first drive, a lot of under center stuff, just exerting their will on the Chiefs on the ground. AJ Dillon, I thought, played one of his better games of the entire season. And that was kind of their primary tool.
Yeah, he
a really nice game. That was kind of their primary tool. And then when Love dropped back, a lot of the times it was under center with play action, and that really neutered the pass rush. So they had a lot of success on those plays. And then they mixed in the shotgun passes as every team does pretty well. And their run rate was high in that aspect as well, like runs out of shotgun, and they were super successful there as well. So, there was a pistol rep that didn't go well in there either, but a lot of different formations, a good mix of run and pass, a good mix of concepts, a good mix of running plays. Like they feature the end arounds to Reed and Watson and get the ball in the hands of their playmaker. Like everything made a lot of sense to me. And they did a great job neutering Chris Jones and really the Chiefs pass rush with all the play action stuff. So LaFleur is back. I don't really ever think he was gone. I think that there is valid criticism of like how he didn't really have the guys prepared early in the season to run his offense and run the right routes and get set pre-snap. And pre-snap penalties were still big for them today. But now that it seems like guys have a better understanding of like what's going on, he's actually able to show that, yes, he is a good play caller, which I don't think the playbook was never bad. I mean, everybody who was in Washington in 2016 has a fire playbook, and he's no different.
Yeah, I can't help but agree. I think it's big things for the Packers, and
they're the 7th seed.
You got to feel pretty decent about You got to feel pretty decent about their future. Definitely a lot better than at the beginning of the year.
Oh yeah, I think Love is going to prove himself as the franchise guy eventually. I think he's played super well for the last month. I think that he is a great athlete. Maybe not as elite as the top guys, but good enough to be a franchise quarterback, no doubt, and a high end one. But
can't believe you're going to have 19 straight franchise quarterbacks.
It's just 3.
It really is sick shit that you don't deserve. And I can't stress.
Like I can't get one. Like what is this, man?
Draft better.
Truly. Okay, I will.
It's not my fault that you guys drafted respectively someone who watched 0 film. All right. Baker, 6'1", mid-athlete Baker, mid-athlete Bryce Young. I don't know. It's not my fault that all happened. Why don't you draft
Put me in the room.
But in
why
a
don't
way,
you draft the old Utah State guy with the power arm?
Put me in the war room, man. Put me in the war room. We're getting
You
this
all
done.
you all had a shot at
Cleveland,
Jordan.
give me a call.
Anyone could have drafted him.
So true. That quarterback class is
It really
insane.
is nuts. It really did save the league.
What is that, 2020
With
or
Burrow,
2021?
it was 2020 with Burrow, Herbert, Tua, Love, and Hurts.
Yeah.
Streets are saying
Jesus
Hurts is the
Christ.
5th best one.
Real ball knowers knew that Hurts was the best one.
Not this year.
No. The 1 year Hurts doesn't get better.
Tough. As far as the Chiefs go,
To see it.
it was a pretty great offensive performance from them as well. I thought Pacheco ran wild.
Pacheco. Dude, Pacheco, I cannot believe he got back up from that play he had where he twisted around. I was losing my shit. And he came back in that drive and scored a touchdown, dude. And they showed that replay, and he twisted his knee at like the last possible second before it would have gone the wrong way. I couldn't believe it. He is such a beast, man. He's one of the most probably like universally
I was thinking
loved
about that
players in the
today.
NFL
I was literally thinking about on TikTok making my players with no haters slideshow. I came up with Tank Dell, Brandon Graham.
Mm-hmm.
Brandon Graham has no haters. I those were the only two I thought of, but Pacheco's a good one.
What about the Patriots?
Judon? I guess
You think
I've
Judon
never
has
seen it.
haters?
He does have haters. I think Film Twitter is a Judon hater because he always has the production.
Yeah, no, you're definitely
He
right
always
about
has like
that.
the production, but then no one respects. I don't know who else has zero haters.
It's like he just wins on stunts, man.
Well, are we counting like offensive linemen who people just like, okay, Moten for the Panthers?
Do Panthers fans dislike him because he's part of the off? Okay,
No.
then Moten has zero haters.
It ain't his fault. He's out there. He's pretty
Swift
good.
would have zero
he's
haters
good.
if it was. Everyone fucking loves that guy so much on Twitter, except for me.
Except for you. You are the
I'm
only
saving him from being on this list.
Oh my god. I'm trying to think who else.
Tyler Lockett.
I think
one.
Lockett has probably some haters because they would say like, "Oh,
Who's hating
hates
Tyler
Tyler
Lockett?
people who
Grow
want
up.
more yards after catch effort."
Oh my god.
But it's endearing.
Lockett
He
doesn't
just
have many
immediately
haters.
collapses as soon as the ball's in his hands. That's awesome. Play till you're
Michael
30,
Wilson,
bro.
the wide
And then have
receiver
people argue
for
you should be in the hall.
Arizona has no hitters. I don't think. Zay Flowers would be one. Zay Flowers has. I don't think he has any haters.
A lot of young receivers.
Puka.
Just a lot of receivers in general. People like receivers.
Puka Nacua definitely doesn't have any haters. Who are players with no fans?
Jamal Adams.
Jamal Adams? You don't think he has any fans?
I'm a bit of a fan of his. Like, I don't know if I'm a fan of his, but he definitely is like overhated in my opinion. But
yeah,
I don't know who else.
Trey Smith. Who's
Quentin
a Trey
Johnston?
Smith hater? He might be a good one.
Nobody. Quentin Johnston's a good one.
No
for the-
fans.
no fans.
That
Quentin Johnston.
That dude. I feel bad for him, man.
It is
That's
tough.
A little bit, but like, catch
It
the
is
football,
tough.
dog. Catch the goddamn football.
You do got to catch the damn football. I can't deny
Like,
that.
I don't know what else to say about it, man. It's brutal. How did the Chargers win today? Like, that doesn't
Bailey
even make
Zappi didn't
like the Patriots off. What are the Patriots doing on offense?
watch the film.
This is.
I don't know what they're doing.
Do I want to watch the
certainly
film on
don't.
that game though? Like,
Anyway, back to the Chiefs offense. Mahomes had really one bad throw, which was the pick obviously, to Nixon. I thought it was a bad throw. People thought it was I also thought it was bad effort from Sky Moore, I guess. But Nixon, it was a bad throw first. Nixon took a perfect angle towards it. And I feel like if you're Mahomes floating it up there, like it was just kind of the wrong velocity. I'd rather see it kind of lower, because it really looked like Nixon was like, had a great read on where that thing was going to go. And I'm like, best case scenario, that was like a contested catch.
I'm trying to remember.
Like a 50-50 ball to Sky Moore at the very best. I've blamed Mahomes for that more than Sky Moore, but maybe I don't know ball.
Maybe, but I do have to wonder, like, I'm trying to remember if that was like a read it out and throw, or just like pop your
hips. It was a quick
and let
one.
It fly. Because,
and I also think it was an RPO.
If you're just getting that out, you're probably not expecting the DB to play that light, because that slot fade is usually, you might have someone coming from like over top down, but I feel like we very rarely see someone like undercut it.
Yeah, they had
that
the natural pick on there. Nixon made a great play more than anything. Like he just read it perfect. He ran right to where he needed to be, and then he made a great catch. And I think that Mahomes, he didn't have like time to read the whole field because there were linemen down the field. So it wasn't the worst pick that I've ever seen, but still, it's like, I wish that he would have read that Nixon had such a great jump on it. And I think the thing just hung in the air a bit too long. Like that's one that maybe, like, instead of giving Sky Moore at best like a 50-50 shot at it, or maybe he could have played DB better and broken it up. Like that might be one you either hand off or like throw into the ground. I don't know. But overall, I thought he played pretty good.
What are your thoughts on what are your thoughts on the pop screen on third down to try and like get a few more yards with like 8 seconds left?
I was happy that they did it as a Packer fan. I mean,
that tells you all you need to know.
As an analyst, I would say I'm saying it probably would have been scarier if Mahomes threw it into the end zone.
Yeah, but like, you were going to throw it into the end zone.
No, you weren't. You threw it out of bounds.
I thought it was unnecessary.
No, I'm saying like, eventually you have to
but you want to maximize the end zone shots that you get. You don't get all day.
I guess.
You think that was a good play call?
No, I think it was the end zone
shot?
No,
not the end zone shot. The Hail Mary. That was a fine play call. I'm talking the like smoke screen or whatever.
The screen? No, it was a terrible play.
Yeah.
That's what I was asking. I was like, did you guys like it?
I mean, I was happy it happened. So no, I didn't. I love the play call.
yeah, Theo was.
The refs were not good on that final drive. I will say that.
No, they were not.
I saw Bango listed out
their
all
sins.
of the penalties that were like,
that stupid, unnecessary roughness. He just hit him too hard, point blank. You just cannot hit Patrick Mahomes like that. Point blank. I mean, and the NFL is everything short of just saying you can't hit the star quarterbacks like that. Sorry.
Yeah, it was a bad penalty.
So
at the end that they missed on Valentine, I will be the first to admit that he got there early. But
yeah, the DPI,
the Packers outplayed the Chiefs.
Call.
Like they did. It was not not an unethical win. I don't think. And even if it was, I don't care. But the Packers offense, the Packers outplayed the Chiefs. So the fact that they won and were rewarded for a better performance, with or without that penalty, I think it's like it was a pretty ethical win. Because it wasn't, I don't think the officiating was bad throughout the course of the game. It just got bad at the end, which is, I guess, when it matters. But you know, the Packers had the lead for the reason.
Yeah, it matters. It matters for 60 minutes.
And
you know,
if you're Mahomes,
you want to win the game, play better, and
you need a penalty to beat Jordan Love. You know, it's like, well, tough. You shouldn't have been in that position.
All I'm saying is, my MVP wouldn't have done that.
Who is your MVP?
Right now, Tyreek Hill.
I'd probably go with Dak at the moment. I know I just said Mahomes, but I guess after Dak's performance versus the Seahawks and Mahomes versus the Packers. It's
razor
pretty close. I'd probably go with
okay.
Dak.
We don't have to figure it out to
Let's
the
give
end
it
of
to the
year.
non-quarterback.
Sure.
It'll be fun.
That about do it?
Yeah. But I think so. I don't have anything else. It's 1:30 in the morning. So, well, at least where Matt and I are. Theo, you've got it a little bit better. But thank you all so much for tuning in. We will be back to do another live film review on Tuesday. So make sure you tune into that on our YouTube. Those are at 6 p.m. Eastern usually. And then we will have, of course, another episode come Thursday morning. So make sure you have, whatever notifications on to tune in to another episode of Stay Hot later this week. But hope you all enjoyed another great Sunday of football. Thank you all for tuning in. And until next time, we will catch you on the Flippity Flop.